And now I'd like to bring Tom Sidey to the microphone, who's going to introduce our great friend, Jason. Tom?
Thank you, Matt. You know, it was a few moments ago that Jason asked me to introduce him, and it's without hesitation that I do this because of the work that he has done. Those of you, many of you know Jason very well. Those of you who don't, he is a lifelong Danbury area resident, the owner of a small business that he has shepherded through both good and difficult times. He understands the struggle that small and medium businesses go through. The father of two sons, Sam and Kai, and served 2 terms in the State House, fighting for issues such as education reform, being a taxpayer advocate, fighting for small and medium businesses, and fighting for equality for all under the law. Something very important to everybody in this room and in this district. He is somebody who fought for us in the State House and someone that we need fighting for us in the State Senate. I look forward to a great victory and working hard for that victory in November. Without further ado, it's my great pleasure to introduce the next state senator from the 24th District, Jason Bartlett.
Thank you, Emil. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Good evening. I wanted Emil to play My Country 'Tis of Thee because we're in a very historical building, and when Marian Anderson was denied the opportunity to sing by the Daughters of the American Revolution, Franklin Delano Roosevelt and Eleanor Roosevelt had her sing at the Lincoln Memorial, and that's how they began the concert. So I thought it would be fitting to begin my few words to say with that. So thank you. I'd also like to start out with a quote from Marian Anderson, a famous African-American contralto who always stood for dignity and strength. She said, "I hadn't set out to change the world in any way. Whatever I am, it is a culmination of the goodwill of people who, regardless of anything else, saw me as I am and not as somebody else." I thought I would start out with that quote because I knew Marian Anderson as Grandma Fisher. My own grandmother, Ruth Ann Guerin, was her companion, aide, confidant, and friend for almost 20 years. She accompanied her to the White House, the Kennedy Center honors, around Danbury, and back to Marian Anderson's hometown of Philly. I would visit this studio and the Fishers' home on Joe's Hill Road throughout my childhood. There I would swim in their pond, watch the cows graze, cut down trees, and enjoy family time with my grandmas. Because Marian Anderson chose Danbury to live from 1953 to the end of her life in 1993, I was fortunate to have her as Grandma Fisher. For her to be one of the people who saw me for who I was, to encourage and inspire me. Marian Anderson stood for so much, and as a child, I didn't fully understand her story. I had no idea that the Daughters of the American Revolution had denied this woman the opportunity to perform, and that Eleanor Roosevelt and President Franklin Roosevelt would arrange for her to sing at the Lincoln Memorial, and that single concert would be a flashpoint for civil rights in our country. Ms. Anderson would inspire the 75,000 people who stood there that day and generations after, just because of her voice, her grace, in her courage to move forward. In fact, Martin Luther King gave his I Have a Dream speech at Lincoln Memorial because he was moved by Marian Anderson's act of courage. Today I stand before you because I am the culmination of your goodwill. I have been honored to serve in the legislature as a state representative, own my own small business, and most importantly, be a father of 2 wonderful sons. I have been fortunate to make a difference in my own way, and I have been able to do these things because of many of you, my friends, my family, co-workers, and my neighbors who have supported me and believed in me. Thank you so much for being here today and marking this occasion with me. Over the past few months, I have been honored to visit many people and to attend a variety of community events. What I hear time and time again is that we need to give back to our community, to give back to one another, because even in the dark times, when many are unemployed or underemployed, when many are losing their homes or struggling to keep them, our community is saying, we need to give back to others for our blessings. I understand that, and I believe in that creed. And I credit my parents and my grandparents for instilling that knowledge in me. Each was a fixture of the Salvation Army Corps. My dad to this day works tirelessly running the Corps, managing the kettle drive during the Thanksgiving and Christmas holidays, and teaching English as a second language. My mom was director of social services for years at the Corps, and my grandma, well, I can't begin to tell you what the church meant to her, except to say that the most important symbol at her celebration of life ceremony last year was the display of the Salvation Army uniform. So to get to an understanding of my passion for advocacy, my resolve to help people, my dedication to this community, you need look no further than my parents and my inspirational grandmas. Ladies and gentlemen, that is why I am before you today and asked you to stand with me through November 6th. I am determined to make a difference, as my parents have before me, and as my grandmas have before them. I want to give a passionate voice to Danbury, to Bethel, to New Fairfield, and Sherman. I want to give a voice to the needs of our community, to represent them with the values that distinguish this great area. That is why today I am declaring my candidacy for the 24th Senatorial District. But as we embark on this journey, my friends, we need to make a pact. I will raise my voice on behalf of the 24th Senatorial District, but only if we collectively raise our expectations. We should not stand in the midst of Marian Anderson's heritage and not ask more of ourselves and our state senator. We are being underserved, and so I offer a choice. I want to continue in the tradition of the first bill I wrote as a freshman that later became law. The bill raised the age that children should be allowed to quit school from 16 to 18. 4 years before President Obama asked the entire country to raise the age to drop out of school to 18, I was asking my colleagues in the state to offer them a second chance at an education and to change their expectations of what is expected. Just as we do for our children, we should give all kids the goals and to set them up to achieve their dreams. That is the kind of legislation I desire to work on and to be proud of. I will be a tireless advocate and a part of the challenge and debate over financing of public education in this state. I will take my expertise and experience in this area to ensure that Danbury, Bethel, New Fairfield, and Sherman are at the table and represented. We deserve our fair share of funding because the funding of education and delivery of those services directly affects our economy and the future of all of our children. Being there as an advocate for education, now that's something I can be a part of and something that will benefit the voters of the 24th District. I will focus on matters of public health, another landmark bill that I introduced and got passed into law. It's a bill that protects the patients and doctors when it comes to applying a standard of care to treat Lyme disease. This bill was duplicated in 4 other New England states because of this endemic disease which has no gold standard for diagnosis. This is the kind of work I will continue. Controlling healthcare costs, focusing on the changing delivery system as evidenced by the merger and the potential merger of Danbury Hospital. These are the issues that need serious attention and reflection. I will focus on housing. Our young people are leaving our state, and our seniors do not have the ability to stay in Danbury or the area, both because of the enormous expense. I will propose new laws and ways to keep our youth here and to provide safe and affordable housing for our elderly. I will focus on transportation. We are about to spend $75 million on a busway from New Britain to Hartford. This kind of spending is not in Western Connecticut's interest and prohibitive to our ability to interconnect with the rest of the state. We need to reinvest in our infrastructure and support mass transit in this area to grow our economy and grow jobs in this area. That is what I will be spending my time on and focusing my energies on as the next state senator. What I will not do, what I will not be a part of, is associating myself with the worst of extremes. I will not associate, like the current senator has, with the birther movement. Introducing legislation that seeks to prevent the President of the United States from being on the ballot speaks to the lowest common denominator in our country. I will not take part in attacking women's right to health care, contraceptive care, or reproductive rights. Let's reject, as a district, legislation that is homophobic and seeks to limit rights based on sexual orientation. I am not proud that we have a senator who tries to make it more difficult for minorities to vote, for all people to vote. And we cannot have a senator who believes in the expansion of the Castle Doctrine and stand your ground laws here in the state of Connecticut. When your leadership pursues policies that lead to fear and hate rather than cooperation, when your leadership teaches that men and women who are different from yourself are a threat rather than a blessing, then it is time as a community to stand up and say enough. I know that regardless of party, race, sexual orientation, or age, that the fights that matter most surround job creation and our improving economy. I will tell you that I believe that the education of our children is directly related to our ability to create sustainable jobs and improve the economy. These issues will be my focus as a state senator. It is time for a new day. Not sure the number of years, but I think it's been about 20 years since the last Democrat held this seat. James Maloney, our former congressman, state senator, and my friend, accomplished a great deal on behalf of the working men and women of this city and on behalf of our children. It's time to elect someone whose number one priority is your number one priority. Your fight is my fight. I will deliver for my constituents. Thank you, and God bless you.